Hey everybody, welcome back. Now we're going to be talking about the Sprite Properties window here on the right. So whatever sprite you select, it's going to bring up its relevant properties. So if I select this one, you can see I gave this one a name. Um, I would say it's important to give it a unique name, something that um, it says here when you highlight over it, it doesn't have to be unique, but I would say you want it to be something that references the image. So for this one, I gave it the name of paddle, or I could call it bat. I wouldn't want to call this one ball because then that would just be confusing when we're encoding, right? Um, you want to give it a unique variable. So this would give it a global variable for the sprite. I called it sprite paddle1. I'm going to show you really quick. Paddle1. And if you hit enter, then AppGameKit Studio automatically references it to the level it's currently on, or to the scene that we're currently on. So if I had another scene of, I don't know, title, it would say title underscore and then whatever I called it. An array group is if you want to reference the sprite in your code um, using or not just the sprite itself, but a group of sprites. So like say we had a Space Invaders game and we had a bunch of aliens. Um, this would be very useful because then you'd be able to reference all of those sprites. So this one you can assign an array in this field. The position X and position Y is just that. It tells you exactly where it is on the screen, whether it's on the Y or the X axis, right? The size X and size Y is going to change it based off of pixels. So this would be, um, you know, where you change it based on pixel perfect. Whereas with this one, the scale Y and scale X, this one changes the scale based off of the actual resolution of the image. So it'll be much larger and not as pixel perfect. Right? Let me just reset the size here. Um, for the rotation, you can either use this bar to rotate it, or again, you can rotate it by grabbing this, or you can specifically rotate it using code, which for that, I would say go into the script and find its rotation and change it that way. But again, I wouldn't change too much in this because you could really screw up the file. Once we go down from there, you're going to see we have the sprite color. So say, let me put this back to 255 and 255. So say I wanted to give this a different hue, then I could highlight over the red. That'll change it to a reddish color. I could do the same thing for green, blue, pink, purple, however I wanted it to be, but I'm just going to leave it at white for now. Also, you can set the alpha, and 255 is going to be completely solid. If you were to change this to like 50, then it's going to be dang near invisible, right? So I'm just going to leave this at 255 for now, so that way it is solid. From there, I want to talk about the depth. So 0 is going to be drawn first, and anything below that is going to be drawn afterwards. So let me grab this sprite just as an example. So this one has the 0 depth, so this one is going to be drawn first, so it's on top, right? If we were to bring that above what this one's at 583, then it's going to go below that sprite. So whatever the higher the number, the lower it's going to be. At 0, it's going to be on top because that's the first image that's going to be drawn. After that, we have stretch to device. Use this to scale the sprite to full X and full Y width of the scene. So this is ideal for like backdrop images for our background that we did earlier. Fix to screen. So if your game scrolls, then you might not want items like HUD images to move. So this would be like your score, mini maps, lives, etc. So if you tick this, then the sprite will always stay in the same place. lock locks the sprite, so you cannot easily move it by mistake, which is what I did for this background image. Visible by default. If you don't want this sprite to show at the start of the app, then uncheck this. Enable Sprite UV scrolling. This allows you to modify the UV parameters of a sprite. I will show you a demo of this later. If you enable physics, then this lets you turn on physics for the object. Snap to grid. This snaps the movement of the X and Y of our grid here. So if I were to select this, now it'll snap. Now it will snap to the grid specifically. It won't just be free roaming. So if I uncheck those, now I can move it more freely and it won't snap. And then you can change the grid size, and you can also set a grid offset. So sometimes you want a grid to line up with a graphic on the screen, and if you use this, then you can fine tune where the grid starts. So this just helps you a little bit more with the grid. And then unlock all sprites is a quick way to unlock all of the locked sprites on the scene. And all right, that's going to be it for this one. In the next one, we'll be going over the sprite physics properties.